The world outside is loud, but inside this midnight train, everything is perfectly still. Watch as delicate frost patterns crystallize on the glass while we traverse a timeless starlit horizon beneath the northern lights. Leave your worries behind and drift into a dreamlike journey through the heart of the Nordic wilderness. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment to arrive, not just in body, but in all the quieter parts of yourself that the day has pulled in different directions. Let them settle back now. There's nowhere to be, nothing to finish, no message that cannot wait until morning. Find a comfortable position. If you are lying down, let your head sink into the pillow. Really let it go, as though the pillow is meeting you halfway. Roll your shoulders back, and then let them drop completely. Unclench your jaw, soften your hands. Notice how much your body was still holding, and let it be held instead. Take one long breath in through your nose. Hold it gently at the top, just for a moment. Then let it go, slowly, through slightly parted lips. Let the breath carry out whatever the day left behind. Good. And again. In and out. One more time. In and all the way out. Tonight, you are simply a passenger. Everything is already taken care of. All you have to do is to let the journey carry you. Imagine yourself stepping away from the noise of the day, not running from it, simply stepping away. The way you might step out of a crowded room into a quiet corridor and feel the hush close around you like a held breath. Every screen, every notification, every half-finished thought is still back there in the room, but you have stepped out, and ahead of you, down a long stone platform lit by amber lanterns, a train is waiting. It is a long, dark train, the kind that exists only at the edges of maps, running routes that most people never take. Its carriages are painted deep navy blue, each window glowing with a soft honeyed light. Steam rises slowly from beneath the wheels, curling upward in the cold night air before dissolving into the darkness above the platform. The engine ticks quietly at the far end, as though breathing, as though resting before a long and purposeful journey. In your hand is a single sleeper ticket, and beside you on a platform your one small bag contains everything you need and nothing you do not. You walk forward. The cold air bites gently at your cheeks. Smells of iron and pine resin and something faintly mineral, the smell of a country that has been cold for centuries has made peace with it. An attendant in a dark uniform meets you at the carriage door. They nod, a small dignified nod that says, "We have been expecting you and we are glad you have come." They take your bag without fuss. You step up and the carriage receives you. The corridor is narrow and lit by small amber sconces, spaced at intervals along the wall. The carpet beneath your feet is a deep burgundy, thick enough to silence footsteps entirely. You move slowly, trailing your fingers along the polished wood paneling, warm and smooth, worn to a shine by decades of passing hands. There's something deeply reassuring about wood that has been touched this many times. It holds the warmth of everyone who has made this journey before you. The attendant pauses at a door and slides it open. Your cabin. You step inside and the door closes behind you with a soft, definitive click. The most satisfying sound in the world. The sound of a boundary drawn. The sound of the day left outside. The cabin is small and perfect. A wide velvet seat runs beneath the window, deep cushioned and upholstered in a color somewhere between slate and midnight blue. Above it, a reading lamp throws a warm honey-colored circle of light that does not reach the corners, which remain in a soft, comfortable dimness. A small folding table holds a glass of water, cold, clean, the faint condensation already beating on the outside, and beside it, folded with precision, a heavy wool blanket in a pattern of dark greens and charcoals. You sit. The seat holds you fully, not just your weight, but all of you. The velvet is cool under your palms at first, then immediately warm. The cabin air carries the faint scent of cedarwood and old paper and something faintly sweet, like beeswax. These are the smells of a place that has been carefully looked after for a very long time. You breathe them in slowly and feel something loosen in your chest that you have not known was tight. Outside the window, the platform is still. The amber lanterns glow. Then, so gently you almost do not notice, the train begins to move. Not with a jolt or a lurch, but with a slow, deliberate lean forward, as though the locomotive has simply decided to begin. The platform drifts past the glass. The lanterns blur to smears of warm light. The last few figures standing on the platform slide away. The city opens up as the train gains its stride. You watch it through the glass, a bridge with its lights shimmering on dark water below. A wide river, the illuminated windows of apartment buildings, each one a small warm world, a life being quietly lived, a church spire, a water tower, the silhouettes of cranes against a charcoal sky. One by one, the buildings become lower, the streets wider, the lights fewer, the city thins, and then, a long gradual exhale, there is only the night. The golden lights of the city has dissolved entirely. Beyond the glass there is only darkness, and the suggestion of a flat, wide landscape moving past. Fields perhaps, or a moorland, or the first shallow breath of a vast and ancient wilderness. There is something wonderful about this transition, this moment when civilization gives way to something older. You feel the smallness of your concerns adjusted proportionally. Out here, against all of this, today's particular weight seems to belong to a different scale entirely. There's nothing more for you to do. The train knows where it is going. The tracks were laid exactly for this purpose. Tonight, you are not the person who decides things or solves things, who moves through the world with intention and effort. Tonight, you are simply cargo, precious, carefully held cargo, being transported through the dark toward morning. And that is all you need to be. Close your eyes now, if they are not already closed, and let your attention shift from what you can see to what you can hear. Beneath the cabin, beneath the floor, beneath the wooden berth and the thick wool blanket and your own settling body, there is a sound, the sound this journey runs on. It is a clicking, a slow, metronomic, perfectly spaced clicking, iron meeting iron, the wheel's edge finding each join in the frozen rail and passing over it with a sound like a quiet, unhurried clock. Clack, clack, clack. It does not vary. It does not rush, or slow, or stumble. It simply continues, as reliable and patient as a pulse, as reassuring as a heartbeat measured in the still hours of a hospital night, steady, present, proof that things are proceeding as they should. Let that sound fill your awareness completely. Notice how it pushes other sounds to the periphery, not aggressively, but simply by being so continuous, so present, so fundamentally regular that the mind has nothing to do with it but accept it. Clack, clack, clack. It was here before your thoughts. It will continue after them. It is simply the sound of forward motion, of distance accumulating between you and the day you have left behind. Now notice this movement of the carriage itself. It is not still. No part of a train is truly still, but its movement is deeply, specifically comforting. A slow, side-to-side sway, perhaps 3 or 4 degrees in each direction, unhurried and consistent, as though the train is rocking itself as much as it is rocking you. It is the motion of a boat in calm water, of a hammock on a windless afternoon, of being held and gently moved by something much larger than yourself. Your body is beginning to understand this rhythm now. Feel how your weight shifts fractionally with each sway, a tiny, almost imperceptible redistribution of yourself between the cushion and the carriage wall. Let your body be passive in this. You do not need to balance or compensate. The seat is doing that. The train is doing that. You're simply being carried, the way water is carried in a vessel, held, contained, moved without effort. Rest one hand lightly on your thigh, or on the wall beside you, or let it lie open in your lap. Wherever it rests, you will feel it. A faint, continuous tremor moving through every surface. The vibration of the engine, transmitted through steel and wool, the very air of the cabin, arriving in your palm as the softest possible thing, like a purr, like the hum of something vast and purposeful working quietly to carry you forward. Now notice your own breath. You do not need to change it, only observe it, in and out. Notice how slow it has already become since you have sat down. Notice how the exhale is longer than the inhale now, the way it naturally is when the body begins to trust that everything is all right. The vibration of the train seems to pulse with it, or perhaps it is the other way around. In this moment, it is genuinely difficult to say where the train ends and you begin, and that is a deeply peaceful observation. Feel the weight of your legs. They are heavy on the seat, pleasantly, solidly heavy. You do not need to hold them up. they can release completely into the cushion. And they are releasing now, millimeter by millimeter, the way a fist slowly opens. And your hips are heavy, and your lower back, which has been carrying the day's tension without asking for help, can soften now into the support beneath it. Let the seat take the weight. It was made exactly for this. Your shoulders are releasing. The muscles across the top of them, which have been quietly braced since morning, are letting go. Slowly, not all at once, but in layers, like snow beginning to slide from a rooftop. Your neck is softening. Your face is softening. The small muscles around your eyes, which has been focused and alert and working all day, can rest now. There's nothing to look at behind closed eyes. There's only the dark and the rhythm and the warmth. The clicking of the rails continues faithful and unhurried. Clack, clack, clack. Each one a small increment of distance. Each one carrying you further from the world of effort and closer to the world of rest. You are doing nothing wrong. You are doing nothing at all. And that is exactly right. Soften your gaze and turn it toward the window. Let your eyes be loose and unfocused, like the eyes that have already half forgotten what looking means. Outside, the darkness has changed. It is no longer the featureless dark of the city's outskirts. It has depth and texture and a quality that is almost luminous. The wilderness has begun. A vast, flat landscape extends in every direction, further than you can see, further perhaps than sight was ever meant to reach. It is covered in snow, but snow unlike you may have ever seen near cities and roads and human warmth. The snow is pristine, untouched, untracked. It lies in perfect stillness, as though it has been there since before the thought of disturbance existed, and it is glowing. Not white, or not only white. The snow holds color the way deep water holds color, from within rather than from without. Tonight it glows a deep luminous violet, the particular shade of the sky in the long moments between sunset and full dark, a color that does not quite belong to a day or night, but exists in the threshold between them. The horizon where the flat tundra meets the sky is barely distinguishable. The world has become one continuous, breathing field of soft violet light. And then you see them. At first, just a smudge at the edge of the sky, a faint brightening of the dark line of the distant tree line, so subtle you're not sure it's really there, but it is there. And as you watch it, it grows, not quickly. Nothing in this landscape moves quickly, but with the certainty of something that has already been there and is now becoming visible to you. The Aurora borealis unfurls across the sky like a soft and slow exhalation. A long ribbon of emerald green, soft at its edges, brighter at its core, stretches from the eastern horizon and curves overhead in a vast, gentle arc. It moves the way a silk scarf moves when held at one end and allowed to fall, a slow undulating drift, folding and unfolding, brightening and dimming in currents you cannot predict and do not need to. It is simply happening, up there in the cold dark, for no one and for everyone, as it has happened on winter nights across these latitudes for as long as there has been a sky to happen in. A second ribbon appears. This one is teal, a deeper, more aqueous color, the color of Arctic water seen through ice. It moves independently of the first, crossing it briefly before they blend and separate again. Two slow rivers of light finding their own paths across the same dark sky. Where they overlap, the colors mix into something indescribable, not quite blue, not quite green, not quite any color that has a name in the daylight world. There's no sound to any of this. This aurora is entirely, profoundly silent. It is possibly the largest silent thing you have ever witnessed. These miles of moving light, happening without friction, without announcement, without any of the noise that human scale events require. It simply moves, and you simply watch, and the train moves beneath you with its steady pulse, and for a long moment, everything in the world seems to be proceeding exactly as it should. Between and behind the ribbons of Aurora, look at the stars. Out here, far from any city light, the sky is dense with them. Not the handful you might see on a clear suburban night, but the full, impossible abundance of the sky as it actually is. Thousands upon thousands of points of light, packed so closely that in some places they blur into a faint, milky luminescence. The Milky Way stretches overhead, the backbone of the galaxy, visible in its true form. An avenue of light, so ancient that the light you are seeing left its source before any human eye existed to receive it. Beneath all this light, the snow holds each star in a tiny perfect reflection. Every crystal a mirror, every surface of the tundra alive with cold, quiet fire. The landscape and the sky have become one continuous thing, the light falling from above and rising again from below, meeting in the middle distance in a glow that has no source and no direction, that simply is. Let your gaze soften until the window becomes a painting, becomes a dream, becomes simply the evidence of a world that exists at a scale your concerns cannot reach. You are very small tonight. Your worries, which felt so large this morning and still large this evening, are smaller still, not diminished by cruelty but by proportion. The way a stone dropped into the ocean is not destroyed, but simply given its proper context. The tundra is enormous, the sky is older than measurement, and you are a warm, small, safe thing moving quietly through the middle of it. Let your gaze drift from the wide landscape outside the glass itself, the window pane, the boundary between your warm world and the cold one beyond it. Look at the edges of the glass where the frame holds the cold most closely. Something is happening there, has been happening quietly this whole time while you were watching the sky. Frost is forming, slowly in utter silence. Intricate patterns are crystallizing out of the moisture in the air, appearing first as the faintest etching at the very corners of the pane, then spreading, branching, growing with the patient, unhurried logic of all natural things. Lace-like ferns, tiny branching trees that divide and divide again into smaller branches, smaller copies of itself, geometric stars, abstract forms that resemble nothing so much as the dreams you cannot remember, beautiful and precise and gone before you can hold them. Choose one small section of the frost and watch it. A single crystal at the glowing edge of a fern. It is motionless, and then, almost imperceptibly, it is not. A new branch has appeared, then another. The crystal is extended itself outward into the cold air in a shape that has chosen, intentional, artistic, and yet is entirely governed by physics, by temperature and humidity, and the molecular geometry of water. Nature making something extraordinarily beautiful because the conditions for it exist, without an audience, without effort, simply because it can. Outside the glass where the frost is forming, the temperature has dropped into something that defies casual description. The air out there is not merely cold, it is another medium entirely, dense and hostile to warmth, in the way deep water is hostile to fire. If you press your bare hand to the glass, you would feel the cold reaching through it immediately, eager and absolute. The wind that has been moving across the tundra all night carries ice crystals that travel horizontally, that would sting exposed skin to numbness in minutes. And yet none of it reaches you. You feel none of it. The walls of this carriage, the insulation between the panels, the double-glazed glass with its sealed chamber of still air, they stand between you and all of that with quiet, complete competence. The cold is fully present out there, and you are fully safe in here, and the glass is the thin, beautiful frost-covered line between these two realities. Looking at the frost patterns is looking at the cold, transformed into something you can appreciate from the correct side of the boundary. Reach for the wool blanket if it is not already across you. Take a moment with it before you spread it. Feel its weight, its texture, its substantiality. It is dense wool, tightly woven, heavy in the way only natural things are heavy, not burdeningly so, but with a satisfying grounding weight that says, this is real, this is here, and you are covered. The pattern in the weave, dark greens and charcoals and occasional thread of something that might be burgundy, has the quality of something handmade, something that took time and care. Pull it up. Feel it settle across your chest and shoulders, over your legs, round your feet. The warmth beneath it responds immediately. The small climate your body has been generating all along now enclosed and amplified. Within seconds, the space beneath the blanket is precisely, perfectly warm. Your own warmth, given back to you. You did not need to earn this or work for this. It was simply waiting for you to accept it. Let your attention settle into the smaller sensory details of the cabin now. The scent of cedar wood is a little stronger near the blanket, the natural oils in the wool releasing their warmth, activated fragrance, clean and woody and grounding. There's old paper in the air too, perhaps from the small book left on the folding shelf by a previous traveler. The smell of a story that was read in this exact spot, in this exact warm light, on a night much like this one. Somewhere in the carriage infrastructure, above the ceiling panels or beneath the floor, the heating system makes a small satisfied tick, a domestic sound, the sound of a mechanism doing its quiet job, like the sound of a house settling at night or a refrigerator cycling in an otherwise silent kitchen. Small, reliable, completely ordinary, and therefore deeply comforting. The cabin is being looked after by systems too small and too faithful to be dramatic about it. Notice what it feels like to be this completely held, not figuratively, literally held. The seat beneath you, the walls around you, the blanket above you, the warmth generated by your own body, contained and returned to you. The train itself, which is carrying you forward without asking anything of you. This is what it is to be entirely provided for, and it is rarer than it should be. In the ordinary hours of your life, something is always asked of you. Your attention, your effort, your decisions, your weight bearing. Tonight, nothing is asked. You're simply a passenger, and passengers are taken care of. Something is changing outside the window. The open tundra, which has stretched beside you for so long in its violet star-reflecting expanse, is beginning to narrow. At the far edges of the window, shapes are appearing in the darkness, tall and dark forms rising from the snow, spaced far apart first, then closer still. Trees, ancient trees, massive at the base, their crowns lost in the darkness above the reach of the faint ambient light. The forest is beginning. The open sky narrows to a corridor as the forest closes in on either side of the tracks. What has been a vast and limitless ceiling of stars in Aurora becomes a long ribbon of sky above a dark avenue of ice-laden branches. The world has not become smaller. It has become more focused, more intimate, more specifically, particularly here. The forest does not feel threatening. It feels like the next room in the house you are already moving through, quieter, darker, further from the entrance, and therefore deeper into rest. The branches of these trees are now covered in ice, not the thin coating of a light frost, but a substantial architectural accumulation of it, built up over weeks of freeze and thaw and freeze again. Every needle, every twig, every small branch is encased in a shell of clear ice that catches whatever faint light exists and refracts into its faintest possible sparkle. In the right angle of vision, the trees look as though they are made of glass, as though this forest grew in a world where transparency was the natural condition of living things, and opacity was the exception. There is no wind here. Deep within the forest, the trees have broken and redirected whatever moves across the open tundra, and what remains is a complete and reverent stillness. Not a single branch moves. The snow that has accumulated on the wider horizontal limbs sits in perfect rounded shapes, undisturbed sculptures of white, balanced precisely as they were laid down days or weeks ago, waiting without impatience for the spring that will eventually release them. Nothing in this forest is in a hurry. Everything has already arrived. Listen to the sound of the train inside this forest. Something has changed. The clicking of the wheels, the faithful metronomic pulse that has carried you this far is still there, but it has been altered by the density of the trees on either side. The sound is softer now, more rounded. The sharp edges of each click has been absorbed by the wall of wood and ice and packed snow, leaving something lower, more diffuse. Less a clicking than a murmuring, less a clock than a voice heard from the next room. The words indistinct, but the tone entirely familiar and entirely safe. Let your ears follow the sound downward. It is descending in quality, becoming less a surface thing and more of a feeling, a vibration you sense in your chest more than you hear with your ears. Like the lowest note of a large instrument, the kind that resonates in the room rather than simply in the air. The train is becoming part of you, or you are becoming part of the train, or both things are simultaneously dissolving into something that is neither separate. If thoughts are still arriving, and they may be, because the mind has its own momentum and does not stop simply because the world has grown quiet, notice them without following them. A thought is like a tree at the edge of the window. It appears, it passes, it is gone. You do not need to hold it or examine it or resolve it tonight. It was only passing through. Let it pass. The forest receives them all without judgment, and without memory. Perhaps a thought about tomorrow arrives. Notice it. It is a real thought about a real thing that will require a real attention, but not tonight and not now. Tonight is a sealed compartment, and tomorrow lives on the other side of a door that is presently and completely closed. Slide it past the window, watch it go, and return to the sound of the wheels and the warmth of the blanket and the silver light moving slowly past the glass. The forest is beginning to thin again, and perhaps your perception of it is changing. The trees are becoming less distinct, shapes rather than forms, suggestions of trees rather than trees itself. The lines where the trunks meet the snow is no longer sharp. The boundary between the ground and the sky, between the forest and the air, between the window and the world outside it, has grown soft and indistinct. Everything is beginning to blend into everything else. This is not a loss. This is an arrival. The sharpness of the world, its edges and definitions and the effort required to navigate them, is exactly what sleep asks you to release. And the releasing is happening now, naturally, without force. The way the exhale follows the inhale without any decision being made. You are not falling asleep. You are being received into it. There is a difference, and it is everything. The train is still moving. It will always be moving, somewhere ahead, in a future that belongs to a different version of you, the version who has slept and rested and returned. There is a destination, a platform, a morning, but this is not here yet, and it does not need to be. Here, there is only the soft, continuous motion, the warmth, the silver dark beyond the glass. Your body is very heavy now, deliciously, completely heavy. Your arms do not need to be lifted. Your legs have released all their residual readiness for movement. Even your face has gone soft. The brow smooth, the jaw loose, the eyes resting with the weight between and behind them that is not fatigue but something gentler. Completion. The day has been completed. You have carried it to its end and set it down, and it is done. The sounds of the wheel is very distant now, or perhaps it has simply moved inside you, becoming something indistinguishable from the rhythm of your own slow breath, your own slowing heart. The Aurora, far above this ice and glass and the dark avenue of trees, is still moving. Those long, silent ribbons of emerald and teal folding and unfolding in the cold magnetism of the sky, as they have done on countless thousands of winter nights, as they will do on countless thousands more. You are resting within something very old, something that has held many sleepers in its dark and did not need them to understand it, only to receive it. Let go of the window, let go of the cabin, let go of the train and the tracks and the frozen country moving past in the dark. You do not need to hold any of it. It will hold you. It has been holding you all along. The tundra holds its breath beneath a billion stars. The aurora turns in silence above the ice. The midnight train carries you gently, without urgency, without end, into the soft and waiting dark. Sleep now.